The category is dance
Dance
or,
or die.
or die. Welcome, Pop
Hello.
Girlies.
Hello, my mistresses of mayhem.
What did you just say? Did you just say hello, my
Girl,
mistresses of
she's been
mayhem?
saying this all week.
I have not heard that one. I
I think that's the first time I've said that, but okay.
No, Levi was saying what we should dress as for the Scarlet Night, and then you said to
Oh, well,
like
yeah.
dress like we'll all be dressing like Mistresses of Mayhem.
Yeah.
oh.
Because the character in the Abracadabra video is the Mistress of Mayhem,
Is
as we
that
know.
self-proclaimed or
That's Gaga proclaimed.
okay, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And is the mistress of mayhem also the lady in red? Like they're the same thing?
Yes.
Different,
Yeah,
right?
that
Oh,
they're the same. That's the same. Lady in Red is the Mistress of Mayhem.
I'm getting it.
You're not getting it.
You're not getting it, girl.
And so then who is the Gaga that's in white? Is that just Gaga?
That's Gaga.
And she's being tormented
Not a
by the
Mistress
mistress
of
of mayhem.
Mayhem.
She's being lured in by the Mistress of Mayhem.
So then, would you say in the disease video that the Gaga
Oh
in the
God,
car
not
is
the
the mistress
disease
of
video.
mayhem?
I would also say that is the Mistress of Mayhem.
That's what I would think too. Why don't you like the mistress of mayhem, Drew?
I do. I just the it's sometimes hard to understand when
I mean, that's like the appeal of her though. Is like she does these wackadoo concepts that sometimes don't like introducing the tribes for Chromatica and then
and then not
literally
using any of
never
them.
doing them, never acknowledging them ever again.
It's
It
Them
always
is
having
kind of
subversive.
funny.
them having no relevance at all to anything.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
I
it's the
mean,
charm of her. She
yeah,
has to be crazy.
yeah.
Like, can you call yourself a true little monster if you don't love Gaga at her? She needs a psychiatric nurse on set
No.
for House of Gucci, or that she drinks the prop drinks and she actually
And
gets
gets
drunk.
drunk. I mean, come on. Like
Like
that's
that's
it's just
just
it's in the DNA.
it is,
It's
and
in the DNA.
if you like submit to it, it's so charming.
It's so satisfying too. Like every time
Yeah.
she says something crazy, it's like your paw is up even higher.
Oh, it's so up. I mean,
Yeah.
watching the 100 people in a room thing become a thing during that award season, because I remember the first time I saw her say that, and then when she started repeating it, I was like, she's saying this thing a
A
lot.
lot.
Uh-huh.
And then it became, and has she ever acknowledged that like it's crazy that she said that?
I don't
No.
think anyone's ever been like, "Whoa, isn't it insane you said it a billion times?"
Like I'm so curious in where she got that from.
Maybe Bradley
She
said it to her.
honestly probably came up with it on the spot that one time, and then in her head
Really
was
liked
like,
it.
that was really brilliant.
Well, what I always think is funny too is like I'm sure obviously like she still feels people counting her out, but I've always wondered about that because it's like you you weren't an unknown performer. You were Lady Gaga.
There were
People
probably
believed in
like
you.
there were probably like 10 people that at least
Like I'm
believed in
I,
you.
I'm
Like
sure there was at least more than one
Bradley Cooper.
person. Remember when she did the 10,000 people in a room and there 9,999 couldn't believe. Like I'm sure one of those 10,000 people could more than one believed in her.
Like you are like Miss
Like
Rah Rah. Like people
yeah,
believe in
like
you.
you had been Lady Gaga. I've always it's always kind of but again it makes it's so charming to me that like she can be like literally Lady Gaga but then still feel like everyone's counting me out. I just need one person to believe. It's amazing.
It's Gaga against the world for real.
It really is. So obviously, audience, you know what we're doing, Pop Girlies Nation. What are we doing today, Maria?
Mayhem.
Ba 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 ba.
Wow.
It's finally LG7. We live in a world where LG7 has already been released, which
Is
is
Chromatica
insane.
over? That's the question.
Girl, you
Yes.
know it'll never be over.
Fuck.
It'll never be over. Are you joking yourself? It'll never be over.
What if I want it to be?
I
There's
mean,
That's the appeal of Gaga too. Her
imagine,
madness and the
well,
fact
yeah,
that Chromatica will always be with her.
yeah.
Did you see
Imagine,
that New York Times interview when she referenced Chromatica as not being the best music she made? I was cheering.
yes,
No.
I have that written down in my notes.
Oh, really? Okay,
Oh,
sorry to jump the gun.
Oh no, not at all. But
You
yeah,
know
I
that I
just,
was standing and clapping. Yes. And whose fault is that, Lady Gaga? Blood poop.
oh yeah, Levi number
Oh,
one blood pop hater.
I
Did
really
you see
am.
that tweet that I sent you that was like, "Oh my God, Mayhem is so good that I blocked blood pop."
Yes.
that you found Levi's alt
My
account.
yeah, my Stan Twitter account.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Shout out to
So,
Marianne Beth also.
oh God. I don't get this person.
You'll get it one day.
Funny Stan Twitter account. But anyways.
Yeah, Maria and Drew are obsessed with this Twitter account that's like a little monster. Her name is Marianne Beth. Well, it's probably a gay guy.
Well, no. There's so Levi, there's lore behind it because what had happened when Perfect Illusion was coming out.
Girl, I know all about that. I was there.
Well, okay. So, well,
So
I
is
didn't.
that what is that like
Yes,
that's a leftover from then?
it's a leftover of the Soccer Moms Perfect Illusion initiative to tweet at local radio stations posing as like moms to convince radio stations that normal average people wanted them to play Lady Gaga songs.
You know, I will say Little Monsters always come up with the best things because
Yeah.
that was great. And then do you remember they were the first people to do the fake Starbucks campaign?
I knew you were
Shallow
going to
Bucks.
mention Shallow Bucks. I knew you were going
Shallow
to mention it.
Bucks. I
It's
mean,
so
that's like
good.
it's one of my favorite things. It's one of the things I look forward to the most whenever like a big artist releases new music, seeing what the fake Starbucks campaign is going to be.
Yeah.
Shallow Bucks, but it was Shallow Bucks. Shallow Bucks paved the way.
Shallow Bucks was number one, and that was people were tweeting, and someone made a really, really convincing fake graphic that was like, if you go to your local Starbucks and show them that you're streaming Shallow by Lady Gaga, you will get a free drink.
It was
It's
called
just
Shallow
so funny.
Bucks.
Shallow Bucks. But
Wow.
yeah, I don't think for Mayhem there hasn't been like such a widespread one as like those other examples, but people did change their accounts to be like gym bros, and it's dubbed like the Muscle Mayhem Bros, and they're like trying to again pose that like normal people are like really obsessed with it. It's
No,
so funny. It's
like
so
the
funny.
old white woman Joanne takeover was so funny. Be
So
like, oh my
good.
God, I just heard a million reasons. I showed my God, I showed God, and then I prayed about it, and then I showed my children, and I wept in my Bible. Like it's so funny.
And then for Hold My Hand, and then everybody were they were military wives for Hold My Hand. So funny.
It's amazing. Because it's like that, but then like the at is like Little Monster 69.
It's just so iconic. It's
It's
so iconic.
incredible.
Yeah.
Okay, should we get into hot track time before we get into some mayhem?
Sure.
Yes, ma'am. Levi, do you want to go first? I feel like you haven't gone first in a while.
Yeah, I'll go first. So in addition to Mayhem being released, a studio album that I was really anticipating was also released this past Friday. It's an artist I've talked about a few times on the pod. Her name is Sasami, and her album finally came out. She'd been teasing it for like months and months and months, and dropping little singles. But the album is called Blood on the Silver Screen. It's amazing. If you like kind of like alternative pop with really excellent production and lyrics, I definitely recommend getting into it. It has this like very interesting vibe. Uh, and I knew that was gonna pick a song off of it for my hot track. And I've gone back and forth and back and forth. And I think the one that I'm gonna go for right now in the moment is a song called For the Weekend. And I'm doing it because the top line to me of that song is a Taylor Swift song. Like it is so like fearless era Taylor Swift. There's this guitar riff, and then the way that the melody sits is just like so reminds me of early Taylor. But the song is terrific. It's this like kind of like pop rock moment about her partner wanting something more serious, but she only wants something for the weekend. And it does feature my favorite lyrics of the year so far. I'm gonna pull them up just so I don't, you know, misquote. Okay, this is so good though. So it's the verse two. It's you want a relationship, but I just want to relate then dip. This isn't a fishing trip. I'm not trying to catch feelings. Oh my God, that
That's
sent me.
everything.
And I think that's really, it's very clever. The lyrics have kind of a sense of humor. So yeah, I absolutely love the album. And the song for the weekend is great. But you should definitely check out the full thing. Oh my God, my stupid cat. The entire time my cat had been on my lap, and then he touched my phone and made it move, and then freaked out and leapt off my lap and clawed me in the process. Oh, and now you're
Rude.
crawling back. Ugh.
Rude.
Okay, that's me.
Well, slay. Drew, do you want to go?
Yeah, I've been kind of listening to a lot. I also really love the new Sasami album that Levi has put me onto. It's so good.
It's so good.
Um, but I knew that he was going to do one of her songs, so um, I'll probably wait to give more of my thoughts until he eventually does it on the pod. Um, but at work, I've been listening to a lot of music while I've been working, and I have been listening to kind of a plethora of different things because I didn't want to get tired of Mayhem, because I knew how much I would be listening to it probably like all year. But it's actually really interesting. I today at work, I was listening actually to Tortured Poets and was getting really into it again. And then I got home and Levi and I's like favorite Swiftie YouTube channel, Chats and Reacts. They did they did breakdowns for every song on the album, and then today they just posted like a redo ranking of it. I don't know if you saw it, Levi.
Oh no, I haven't seen it.
So they basically it was like an hour-long video where they basically ranked every song on like a tier. Um, and I watched all of it. It was such a good video. So if you love Taylor Swift or honestly like anyone Swift adjacent, like they're a perfect YouTube
They're
channel
so
to go
good.
to.
Yeah.
They're amazing. But they said something really smart about it because they obviously like in watching all of their content, I could tell how much obviously they loved it because they love Taylor so much. And but they said something really smart. They were like, this is an objective like career highlight for her. Like in an objective way, you could say that it's her best album, but in a personal way, it's sometimes hard to connect to it because of how autobiographical it is with the whole Maddie Healy drama
Mm,
of it all. And they
hmm.
were like, in a way, you can say that it's like objectively her best, but then also rank it like not in your top three albums of hers, but still have that same respect knowing that it is her objective best, if that makes any sense.
Yeah,
I
that
just
makes
thought it was
sense.
really smart. And their like ranking of each track was really cool, so highly recommend. But I thought it was cool that I was listening to it earlier, and then um, they talked about it. So my hot track, I'm gonna do Fresh Out the Slammer because that's
Fresh
like
out
a
the
highlight
slam.
for me. But
So
yeah,
good.
yeah, I love Tortured Poets.
Good. As everyone should. Maria.
Yeah.
Did I never said I hated it.
You hate the word department.
I do hate the word department. I'm not gonna go back on that.
The torture Drew department. The torture poets Drew department.
Right.
Goodness.
They
All
Okay.
both
right.
ranked that song low, though. I was kind of annoyed, but
That's
whatever. It's
embarrassing.
okay. And that's another thing. Everyone's takes on Tortured Poets are so different. Like,
The
I
song.
feel like no, like just the album
Oh,
ranking.
like got it. Yeah, yeah.
I
No,
feel
they
like
are.
every different kind of circle of Swiftie I see rank the album. They always do
Differently.
something like completely different.
Yes.
Which I think
Agreed.
makes it like even cooler to like have takes about. But
When
yeah, I
people
like
rank
it made me really resonate with like because I always felt like, oh fuck, like I feel like I didn't really like it as much as other people, but it was like one of those things where I felt like guilty about it because I knew how good it was. But they highlighted that feeling like perfectly in that video.
Well,
So,
good.
yeah.
Okay, Maria.
Slay. Well, my hot track is going to be a track that I was actually listening to again like about a month ago, and I've been listening to it like kind of ever since, but I discovered this song and this duo last year, and it's the Chemical Brothers, who are like an electronic music duo from like London, I think. Um and it's actually funny because I discovered them because when the Olympics were going on last year, I like went back and watched older like opening ceremonies, and one of their songs was featured in the London Olympics, like when the like Parade of Nations happened, and I was like, "Whoa, like what's that song in the background?" It was the song by the Chemical Brothers. It's not the song specifically, but like that's how I went was on this journey and listened to a lot of their music. But my hot track is Block Rock and Beats by the Chemical Brothers. It's really, really great. And imagine the gag when the Sirius XM Gaga radio comes out, and then I open it up on my phone, and the first song that I'm hearing that was handpicked by Gaga on Gaga radio was Black Rock and Beats by the Chemical Brothers. I was like, this is so crazy. I love this song. And I feel like it's kind of niche. So that was a fun moment, but that's a really great song. I mean, it's very, very vibey, like industrial kind of exciting electronic music. And to my ultimate contentment, they actually have like two or three collaborations with Q-Tip from A Tribe Called Quest. So then when I was listening to their discography, I was like, wait, why was this built in a factory for me? This is nuts. So yeah, that's my hot track. And I was just like so happy to see that Gaga picked it for her like her little like temporary radio on Sirius XM. I thought it was so cool. So that's my hot track.
Yeah, that thing
Yay.
was made for you.
Yeah.
It really was.
Yeah. Yeah. I will say too, like so this Gaga radio thing is happening until like sometime in early April, and someone has been compiling like all of the songs that she's choosing for it in this massive Spotify playlist. And it's just like so cool to see the songs that she's choosing. But it was also just like so gaggy because I was listening to it like the day that it came out, and then she started playing, well, like, it was on the queue, and it was Bedtime Story by Madonna. So I was like, this is so crazy. So of course I was like blowing up the group chat with like all of the
Queen,
songs that were
honey.
being picked. I mean, the Queen, honey. It's just crazy. And apparently she also played erotica
That
in
makes
Into the
sense.
Groove. I think there were a couple other Madonna moments. Material Girl, Dress You
Do you
Up.
think she picked all of them, or do you think she just picked like a handful and then like Sirius XM just kind of like blended
That
in
very
some
well could be
other?
true. It kind of feels like she did pick m at least most of them because for a lot of the songs that play, she does have a lead in
Oh,
talking
okay, that's
about it.
cool.
Yeah, yeah. So it's really fun to listen to. But yeah, so that's my little tangent about that. But yeah,
Well, is that our segue into
Yeah, that's a
Miss
perfect
Mayhem?
segue.
I think so. I think it's time to talk about MAYHEM. So let's get into it.
Let's
This
do
is
it.
crazy. Okay, so pulling up my notes. But as we know, this is very reactionary. Mayhem's only been out for like a couple days. So Mayhem released March 7th, 2025. It's about 53 minutes and it's 14 tracks. It's her seventh studio album. And the main producers that she worked with on this were Circuit, DeMille, Gesaffelstein, Bruno Mars. I mean, obviously just on Die with a Smile, and Andrew Watt. And Mayhem currently has an 83 on Metacritic, and it got an 8.0 from Pitchfork, which is her highest Pitchfork score, which is pretty cool. Um, let's see here. Something also fun to note is because Die with a Smile is on the album, but wasn't technically like the lead single. It was eligible for this past year's Grammys, so Die with a Smile does already have a Grammy for Best Pop Duo Performance. When it comes to the genres of this, I would say this is like a very, very genre bending album, and it's just very much like not. I mean, it starts off what you would expect from Gaga, and then it kind of departs from that in a very interesting way. But it's a lot of like industrial pop, dark pop, funk. It's very groovy, eventually. Also is pretty electronic. And I would just say overall, it's like very eclectic. It's a really interesting blend of a lot of different sounds that sound really fresh, but also is very clearly a lot of inspiration from things that kind of is what is the chemical makeup of Lady Gaga as an artist and her inspirations. So she started recording material for this in 2022, like off of the end of the Chromatica Ball. And she was quoted at the time of saying that she was basically like writing some of her best songs, and was being very kind of not like cryptic, but started posting like a lot of photos of her in the studio with kind of like alluding captions, which we eventually found out were lyrics on the album, which was like super cool. Um, and she also says quite a bit that the album was coming from a place of happiness, which, as we know, is very different from her her state and like where she was when she was making Chromatica. And she mentions quite a bit that when Chromatica was coming out, slash, like when she was working on it, she was not in a good place. And kind of bringing it back to what Levi was mentioning in the New York Times articles, like she was essentially saying that she doesn't think artists can make their best music if they're not like in a good place and they're not like mentally doing well. So, that definitely ties into when she was like, I don't think I was making my best music then, which is just really interesting. And I think that's also something worth noting that the Chromatica era, because of COVID, is just like so broad, but it starts in an extremely different place than it ends. And I had kind of talked about this like early on in just like the Pop Girlies episodes that I was like, I think it very much seems that like the vibe of the Chromatica Ball and the end of the era is going to feel a lot like how the LG7 era is going to feel, which I think is very much the case. And as we know, a lot of the inspiration from the album, or for the album rather, is her relationship. And something that's I think we might have mentioned too, but she's talked about it a whole bunch, is that she met her fiance through her mom. Like her mom met him at an event for the Born This Way Foundation. And or did you guys not know that?
I knew that.
No, I knew
Oh.
that.
Oh, you
I
guys were just reacting like I was telling you
I
information.
I
I'm
was
laughing at
waiting.
Drew.
Oh,
You're being
I really
funny.
wanted to chime in, and I didn't realize I was being funny. I'm sorry.
You were like
I wanted to
laughing. You were
chime
being
in
really
because
funny.
in my head, I thought for some reason I thought you were gonna say like a huge inspiration of her is brutalist architecture.
Well, that's what she said about the
So
Chromatica
I was
Ball.
like, I was prepared for you to say that
Say
like as a
brutalist
joke,
architecture.
and then you said her relationship with Michael, and I was like, of course, when I want her to make a joke, she just mentions fucking
Michael.
Michael.
Gosh.
So
Well,
then I was like giggling. I'm sorry.
yeah, no, it's totally fine. Well, Pop Girlies listeners, if you didn't know, the Chromatica Ball set is inspired by brutalist architecture. Oh my gosh. Well, yes. So yeah, I mean that's the backstory there, but he's a huge inspiration for the album, and you can very much tell that she's in a much happier place and is very much in love. And he's also an executive producer on the album, has some writing credits. Off the top of my head, I can only recall Disease and Blade of Grass being songs that Michael's credited for having a hand in writing. Um, but yeah, something worth noting. And something too is that she very
Okay, I just
much,
I just pulled it up. He's actually credited on a lot of songs. He's
yeah,
credited on Disease, Vanish Into You, Love Drug, How Bad Do You Want Me, Don't Call Tonight, The Beast, Blade of Grass.
I
Okay.
want to know exactly what he contributed to How Bad Do You Want Me? Like, I think the one that is most intriguing to me. I'm like, what was his contribution?
I want to know what his contribution to The Beast is.
Oh
Well, yeah,
God.
I mean, that is like that song is a lot of is just a lot.
that song's a lot. So to derail momentarily, so when we're recording this, her interview with Howard Stern on SiriusXM was this morning, and I listened to the whole thing, and she actually said that some of the inspiration for The Beast was like, and Drew, I think this is exactly what you were wanting the song to be. And she was like, yeah, it's kind of like like The Beast being like me when I'm on stage and I turn into Lady Gaga. Like she said
Yeah,
that.
I think she said that also in the Zane Lowe interview because Zane Lowe was basically like, I think the Beast is about someone, right? Like I think like it's about like you have anger towards someone. And she goes, no, it's about my persona on stage.
Yeah. Well, wasn't that what you were hoping the song was going to be about, though?
I mean, I don't remember like hoping for it to be about anything. I think that's what I thought it was about initially, but I don't
Right.
know if I was like hoping it would.
Sh-
I didn't really
Sure.
have a lot of stake in what it was about, but
Well, sure.
that's
I
what I
just
thought it
remember us
was.
talking about it, so that's why I was like bringing it
Yeah.
up.
Well, and the interview came out before the album came out. So I
Right.
think I went into it thinking it was about that, and then but then
Right.
there was a lot of weird meanings that a lot of people were getting from it, like
Right.
a lot of like sexual meanings.
Right.
Um, so again, open for interpretation, but
I got
yeah,
the sexual meanings. I didn't get
yeah,
anything else.
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. It's kind of one of those things though I can't like go back and listen to it without having seen that interview. So
Right.
yeah.
Okay. Okay. So let me look here. I also wanted to say, and I wanted to like mention this quote, which I thought was really interesting. So she says, this album is imbued with my love for music, a diversity of genres, styles, and dreams. It leaps from one genre to another in a manner that feels almost corrupt, and it culminates in love. That's my answer to all the chaos in my life. I find peace in love. Every song I wrote emerged from surrendering to different dreams tied to my past, almost like a recollection of all of the bad decisions I've made throughout my life. There are moments where we sonically push the sound to extremes, and others where everything revolves around love. That to me represents true chaos. It's sometimes difficult to see the light, but I think what makes inner chaos more challenging is when you occasionally catch a glimpse of the sun. For this reason, the album offers a bit of everything. It's a complete experience. So, I thought that's a very great mission statement, I think, for the whole album. And I think is really crucial to know going into it because again, it starts at a very different place than you end up going to throughout the course of the track list. Um, and something too, she described the album as a party like multiple times and had said that you think you'll know what you're getting into and then you'll have no idea essentially. And she actually, girl, I'm just
Like,
quoting.
come on, girl. Like, what?
I'm just saying what
No,
she's
no, I
saying.
appreciate your on the ground research. Like, it's perfect. I was just reacting.
It's just
I had
what
not
does
heard
that
that.
mean? I just don't know what that means.
Well, because I guess you can like go into a party thinking like, oh, I'm gonna hate it, oh, I'm gonna have like the best time of my life, and then it can like completely change. I
Right.
think maybe like
I mean, isn't
instead
that
of
anything?
comparing it to something, like maybe just like
Just say
I don't
that
know.
like it you could think it's gonna be one thing and then it changes. Like
Yeah.
you could say that about anything. Like, oh yeah, I thought the dentist was gonna go one way and then they decided to saw my leg off. Like that just doesn't make any sense.
Well,
She's
God,
wild.
I love her brain so much.
yeah, literally. That's so funny. Well, something I also wanted to mention is that I think there was a like a really big push from like Little Monsters in general to be like, ugh, like there's been like we've gotten like two Lady Gaga jazz albums and Harlequin and then like Joanne and like whatever. Like we just need Gaga to go back to like dark pop or like we need the old Gaga back or like whatever, which I think is like an interesting sentiment and obviously just kind of like echoes like, well, yeah, this is like the Gaga that we fell in love with and like that's kind of like the pop form that she built and then, like grew her career from and etc. And then it just kind of goes into the silliness of like the reheating of the nachos or like whatever. But it's just like, I think very interesting to see Gaga like confident and comfortable enough to like go back to making that kind of music that she used to without it not being like complete fan service of like, oh, well, this is what people want from me, so I'm just gonna do it again. And like I think if like you really like know Lady Gaga, like you would know that she wouldn't just like make the Fame Monster 2.0, you know? So I think, and I'll go into it a little bit more, but yeah, I think this is like a very interesting way of Lady Gaga like celebrating her foundations, but also creating something very brand new and fresh. Um, so yeah, and something too, as you listen to it, there's very, very clear inspirations throughout the whole thing. I think most notably like David Bowie, Prince, some Gwen Stefani, Michael Jackson, you know, really all of the greats. So I think it's just, again, like a very cool moment of seeing all like this chemical makeup of like all of her inspirations. So yeah, and I think this is also just like a really fun album to listen to as like a huge music fan because you can be like, oh, I think I'm catching like a very clear reference to something or an interpolation or that's like the riff from like David Bowie's Fame and Killa, like all of this stuff, you know? So it's very fun to listen to in that regard. So yeah, I think that's really all of my background that I wanted to run through. I'll also say that the deluxe tracks are really, really good. I don't know if you guys have listened to them yet. Can't Stop the High and Kill for Love, but they're both really, really good. And they both sound completely different. Something also actually is that after she had made Perfect Celebrity, she also completely changed the direction of the album and almost decided to make it all like an industrial pop album, but then decided not to. So something interesting, but
Yeah, it
it
was
was also
almost called Perfect Celebrity, right?
yeah, and it was almost called Perfect Celebrity. But yeah,
Interesting.
Wow.
that's some tea. So yeah, I think that's everything I wanted to say. Um, But yeah, would love to hear your guys' thoughts. Levi, do you want to go first?
Oh, I feel like I never get chosen to go first. This is a lot of
Yeah.
pressure.
Yeah.
My God, I got chosen to go first, both in Hot Tracks and the album. I'm not used to it. So yeah, this is it's so exciting. Like it's finally here. I mean, I feel like this is a moment that we've been building up to so much for months and months and months. I mean, obviously we have Maria Monster here, and then two of my
hmm
best friends, Zach and Eric, are also huge monsters, and my boyfriend is also like a pretty big monster. So it's kind of like I feel like I've lived in like a fog of like LG7, 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 LG7 hype for like the last like months to a year. It's just kind of been like nonstop, just like swirling around me. And so when I pressed play very, very early Friday morning, I was kind of, it was just, it felt surreal. It was like, I can't believe that I'm finally listening to LG7. And especially after like the release of the initial singles. I mean, obviously, like, I don't think Die with a Smile is the kind of song that like scratches like the core itch of a Little Monster, but I know that like it's been very cool for Little Monsters to see like her get such a global, undeniable smash again. But
hmm
then you have like the return to the OG Gaga sound that I don't think anybody thought she would ever do on Disease and Abracadabra, which is just, I think, something really special to witness. I've likened it to kind of the way, I mean, this is on a much smaller scale. Obviously, what you're experiencing is bigger, but it's kind of like how I felt when I listened to Tortured Poets for the first time and I listened to But Daddy, I Love Him, because that to me is like essentially a Speak Now song. And it like captures that same kind of like soaring feeling that Speak Now gives me, which is, I think, maybe like the equivalent for Swifties to like the Fame Monster, like that like core Taylor Swift sound that is so like undeniably her, and that's what made people fall in love with her. And I think that's the same thing that's true for the Fame Monster. And so it's cool. I just think it's really cool that so much of this era has been about fan service and really like giving everything for the fans. And I'm really excited to like have her keep doing that. And also, I want to say, just while talking about the release of the album, is she's is talking a lot in interviews about happiness and about being in a place in her life where she's finally happy. And I truly believe that you can see that in the interviews. When
Yeah.
I watched the Hot Ones for the first time, I was blown away by how normal she seemed. Like it was kind of alarming how down to earth and just like healthy, grounded Stephanie she seemed. There was no like weird accent. There was no strange metaphor. There was really no lies, I thought.
Yeah. Also in the with the when I noticed it was in the I think it was a Rolling Stone video when she was breaking down disease.
Yeah, it was Rolling
Hmm.
Stone.
I was also like, she's in this crazy black wig and this like crazy outfit, but she's so normal. Like, what
Well,
is going on?
and that's what's so cool is because like this album in a lot of ways had been billed as like the return to the original Gaga, and it's cool that we're seeing what that looks like when she's in a place in her life where like she feels like she can just be grounded in herself and she doesn't have to like put this character into her personal life and
Yeah.
carry that around with her. Like she can leave it on stage, she can leave it in the recording booth.
Yeah. And it's really interesting too, because she's mentioned multiple times of like, oh, the fans probably think I'm boring or like they think I'm too normal now or whatever. But then also kind of like championing that feeling and being like, well, like I'm still me. Like I'm not a different person, but like I'm healthy, I'm happy, all of the sort of stuff. So she's like, well, they might think that I'm boring now, but I'm having a great time.
Oh, but
So
that Gaga press conference though, she was back.
The
she
Gaga
was
press conference was so fun.
Oh my God, it was so good. Their crazy
She was
wig.
back to the crazy. I think
Yeah.
like the fans are what bring it out in her. Like really, like
Yeah, I mean
every
being in a
time
room
she's
with
on
like everyone
stage or
everyone in the room is a little monster. It's like it's the vibe. And there were so many moments during that press conference where you could tell she was just like completely like relishing it.
yeah.
So, yeah.
That's something else that I think has been really on display this era. Just this like really strong bond between her and her fans. I think that she is of the like big pop stars. I think she has one of the strongest relationships and closest relationships with her fans. I think her fans just so deeply identify with her, and I find it really moving hearing her talk about it. I watched this video today of like MasterCard did a thing where they like flew out fans to like learn the abracadabra dance from one of her dancers, but then Gaga was actually there watching them the entire time and then like came out at the end. And it was just like so moving watching her get emotional.
Maria's so mad she wasn't there.
Yeah, Maria, you kind of would have eaten them all up too.
You would have known the choreo though.
I'm not even gonna lie, I was watching it and I was like, oh,
You,
I was
my God,
She was so angry.
you had notes.
I have notes, so yeah. No, I'm kidding. I'm
Whoa,
kidding.
sore subject, Levi.
Yeah, sorry.
No, it's
Oops.
not.
Yeah, you
No,
say
I'm not
that.
I'm not pressed at all that I'm not going to Club Mayhem in LA on Thursday either.
What is Club Mayhem?
I think
Club
she's
Mayhem.
copying Katie now. Club 143, Club Mayhem.
Oh,
What is Club
wait, yeah, what
143?
was
Club
Club
143
143?
is the like the VIP section at our concert.
Well,
What?
okay,
I
but
thought it was
Taylor's been doing that for decades.
But it's not called Club whatever.
Club 89.
It was called
Oh,
that.
wait, no, it's called Loft 89. Club Red.
Yeah.
That's what it was. It was Club Red.
Oh, oh.
So even before
T.
that.
Well, I thought it was Infin Oh, well, I guess those are just the two sections of the pit
The
for
Club
Katie is
143 was like the crazy, crazy, crazy expensive one. That's like you get like the lounge
Are
access and
you
like the
going to Club
bartender.
143?
No, I'm not. I
What
am
it's kind of
not.
section are
crazy
you
you
in?
didn't get like a free invite to it.
Yeah, it is kind of
Well,
crazy.
I'm
Well, Drew's
waiting for
actually
that.
opening.
Right.
Yeah, sorry, Rebecca Black. I'm taking your
Well,
job.
it's the dates that Rebecca Black isn't opening. You're the
Right,
opener.
right.
Yeah.
And no, Camila.
Flop Mila.
Yeah.
No.
Um,
So
but
back to the
well,
album. Oh, or
yeah,
do you
yeah.
have more to say?
Well, no, I was just gonna say there's like a in LA, it's like they're doing like a private concert situation that like you I don't know, people got like people got like specific invites for it. It was like it's
Like
an invite only
this is
thing.
giving very City of Lover vibes.
Yeah, it is. I mean, trust me, I'm a Swiftie. I'm used to the fan invite events and being seething in jealousy. Do you know how many times I've cried myself to sleep that I haven't been invited to a secret session?
That's kind of insane
I have like
that you haven't.
I've sobbed myself to sleep about it before. Like I remember being like 14 when it first was happening with 1989 and being like, why am I not good enough? Like what have I done? Why am I not worthy enough to listen to 1989? And then every album, the subsequent album, I'd be like, oh wait, this is it. Like that's why it didn't happen before. Like it feels so right now. And then it never happened for me,
She'll
unfortunately.
never do it again.
She'll never do it again. And she honestly shouldn't.
No.
I think that it would be I think that that era of Swiftyism is ruined. Anyways, this is
Yeah.
not about Miss Taylor. This is about Miss Gaga. So getting into the album, I love it. I think it is objectively her strongest album since Art Pop as a body of work. And like I really like don't know how you would argue anything else. And I say that as somebody who like is a known Joanne truther and supporter. And, you know, I have my complicated relationship with Chromatica, but like even just comparing an album like this and Chromatica, like she sounds to me so locked in on this album. There is this quality to her vocal performance, I think, especially that when I listened to it for the first time, there were just moment after moment where I was like, damn, she's really going for it. Like, I don't think Lady Gaga's an artist that half asses anything, but I think you could just really hear in the music that she's very much in the zone and in her element. And I don't mean that in terms of she's doing everything she's done before, because I don't think that's quite right. I think she is exploring some sounds she's done before, but also doing things she's never done before. But I just mean that as like she is so completely locked into what she's doing and she sounds so confident. She sounds happy. She sounds creative. In a way that I don't think we got on Joanne or Chromatica. I think both of those, well, the Joanne vocal performance is very stylized, and then I think like, you know, there's fun vocal moments on Chromatica, but I think just the overall presence is more muted with that album compared to something like Mayhem. Yeah, so I absolutely love it, and there's kind of a lot of things I want to say, and I don't really have a a good way to say it, so I'm just gonna kind of list out some thoughts. The first thing I thought of was my immediate reaction to it was a comparison with another album. And this album, I don't think really has a lot in common with Mayhem sonically, but pretty much everything else about it reminds me of this other album. Because Maria touched on something about Mayhem, which is this is an album that's basically a journey. I mean, we start in one sonic landscape, which is very electronic, very dark. There's kind of a grit to everything, very heavy, very clubby. And then around track five, a funk and a groove slowly starts weaving its way in. And pretty soon we are, you know, just fully kind of like back in the 80s doing very, very like early 80s dance pop and 80s funk. And then by the end, that even kind of whittles away again, and we're into some kind of like classic old school balladry with songs like Blade of Grass and Die with a Smile. And I think that like the album it reminded me so much of was Reputation because Reputation has that same sonic journey where it starts in this incredibly heavy, industrial, grimy, hip hop influenced sound with Ready for It, Endgame, I Did Something Bad, and then it slowly morphs into this like lighter, airier, more romantic synth pop, and then it ends with a piano ballad. And I think that the progression of Mayhem is incredibly similar. I think the albums thematically are both about very similar things. And I think kind of like what Maria was talking about, I think they're both about artists who, for very different reasons, have had complicated and at times painful relationships with their art and being in the public eye and being the quote unquote perfect celebrity. And they're people who both found their salvation and their healing through love and through finding somebody that made them feel like a person again. And then both albums also feature album covers that are black and white portraits of the artists with half of their face distorted. With Mayhem, it's obviously the like mirror effect, and with Taylor, it's the newspaper. But that was just like, wow, like I never really thought I would be comparing a Gaga album to Reputation. But I think that, I mean, I love Reputation and I think it's crafted pretty immaculately. So that is pretty high praise coming from me. But yeah, it just kind of goes to like uh, something I was so taken with this album is the journey that you go on when you listen to it. I think that what Maria said about this album being kind of catnip for music fans is so accurate. And, I love it because I think it's like ultimately a collage of what makes Gaga Gaga. It has like the hallmarks of her sound that she kind of crafted and really pioneered, but then it's also, the influences that were really impactful with her. But what I think she does with that is so interesting is because, she goes back to kind of like disco-y slash funk vibes of the late 70s, and then we get the early 80s and then the late 80s, and like Maria touched on a lot of the Prince, Bowie, MJ. I also get a lot of like early debut Madonna, like specifically the song Burning Up by Madonna. It feels like it could have fit in on this track list. And but then you also get like kind of like 90s like rock influences. Like I know like Nine Inch Nails was a big touch point on the album for her. And kind of that, I think that like there's in Perfect Celebrity, there's that like super like crazy rock inspired vocal on the chorus. There's just kind of a grit to a lot of the songs. And then you get the 2000s, there's a lot of these like chanty choruses and like this Gwen Stefani-esque hollaback girl moment. I also think that you could argue that the chorus for Perfect Celebrity maybe isn't as 90s as it is like Avril Lavigne, bratty, like 2000s. But what I find interesting is because, okay, up until this point, this was before she debuted. But what I think is interesting is then I think she also pushes it further. And I think she like also makes contemporary references, which I don't think you highlighted, Maria, because I think it's my duty to address she she does a Taylor Swift song in this album, which is was not on my bingo card. I don't know if that was on anybody else's bingo card, but
Well, no,
she is like, and I don't mean that as like, oh yeah, like this is kind of Taylor. Like it is it,
it's
it
full Taylor.
it's a Taylor Swift song, and of course we're talking about the iconic smash hit that is played at weddings, bar mitzvahs, funerals, graduation parties. How bad do you want me? Like I was seeing people say that she was reheating Taylor's nachos on the timeline, and I guess I didn't have like a concept of what that would sound like what that could mean, because I don't really view them as doing very similar things. And that makes sense because Gaga's never done a song like this. I mean, this is a straight up like yearning Jack Antonoff-esque synth pop like number. And melodically, it's like it's crazy how Taylor it is. And also lyrically, I mean, Taylor's obsessed with girl, good boy, bad boy. Like she loves that. And all of these and the lyric on the second half of the chorus, you hate the crash, but you love the rush. Literally, there's a lyric on Tortured Poets Department. What a crash, what a rush. Ironically, it's on Maria's least favorite song, Florida. Uh, so there you
Great.
go. You kind of manifested with that one, Maria. But
Yeah.
it's but besides me being deeply pleased with there being a Lady Gaga Taylor Swift song, what I find really interesting about that is to me, this album is in conversation with music history and contemporary music. And it's
Hmm.
Gaga being kind of the chameleon that she is and figuring out how she can bring the core Gaga identity to all of these different sounds. And I think it's really cool that she includes a very specific and very obvious contemporary reference. Because to me, that changes the album from being like a tribute to the artists that have inspired her to instead being a tour through both her personal musical history, but also music history as a whole. It's something that I find very, very interesting, and I think I'm still wrestling with it and discovering more layers. Thematically, I don't think this is the most ambitious album she's ever made. I think it kind of like doesn't quite match like the grand scope of something like Born This Way, which is pulling like confessional stuff, but also like religion, but also empowerment, but also like all these different things, and then art pop being what it is. Like, I think thematically, Mayhem is a lot more straightforward, which initially I will admit, like initially I was like, huh, this is a lot more like thematically uplifting than I thought an album with the title Mayhem would be. But then it kind of hit me that Mayhem isn't necessarily the lyrical content, it's kind of the feeling of listening to the album. And to go one step further, I was talking to my friend Eric about it, who's a huge monster, and he said that Mayhem is the word to describe the experience of being a little monster. And it's how you describe the experience of loving Lady Gaga, which I thought was so interesting.
Yeah, I was
So,
literally gonna say it's like, yeah, if like literal mayhem isn't present in like what's actually being said, it's like the lived experience.
yeah, I
Not
mean,
only of Lady Gaga, but just like I think it's something everyone can relate to in some sort of way. Like it doesn't have to be such a like it doesn't have such like a negative heavy connote or oh my God, context because or connotation rather. My gosh, blended the two words. But because like usually I feel like you would consider mayhem to be like, oh, that's like a negative feeling. Like I want to get as far away from
yes,
mayhem, quote mayhem as possible.
yes.
But yeah, I think it's something that can be yeah, like uplifting, So yeah, just wanted to like comment on that.
Well, and you really do get that because, like, I'm sorry. I think when the track list was announced, I think everybody was like, okay, Die with a Smile was obviously added in on this track list last minute. But then the mayhem of listening to the album being like, wait, why does Die with a Smile fit in with so much of this so well?
It's
Like,
crazy.
it is really, like, honestly, if we're gonna really go there, I would say that it's more similar to the majority of the album than Disease and Abracadabra is,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
is crazy.
It's
One of
crazy.
the
I mean, the
funny
narrative of
speaking
Die with a Smile existing in the world is like, yeah, it's just crazy. But
That's
yeah,
mayhem.
is
one of the
Mayhem.
funniest things Maria said related to Die with a Smile is when she was I think you were listening to it like after you had the first listen and you texted in Pop Girlies, you go, and then we die with a smile. You're like, and the album's over.
No, I sent that gif of well, yes, okay. Wasn't it when I sent the gif of that guy when he's smoking a cigarette?
Yes.
Yes.
You were like, I think you're like listening to Mayhem again, and then like 2 hours later, you're like, and then we die with a
Die with
smile.
this one.
If the world was ending.
But
Smoking a
also,
cigarette.
like, it honestly does, like, really serve as a very fitting conclusion to the album because
I
it
agree.
is, it is
Yeah.
like, it is kind of her salvation amidst the mayhem, amidst the chaos, is this rock solid foundation in life that she's built with Michael, who just, seems to be such a positive, beautiful force in her life. And it is moving that after an album of so many craziness and like a lot of when you listen to the album for the first time, you're kind of just like, where are we going? Like, what is happening? And then it just ends
Kind of
with
like
this.
when you go to the dentist.
When you go to the dentist, when you go to the dentist and they
Or
pin
a
you to the
party.
floor
or a
or a
party.
party, or anything really, and you just don't know what's about to happen, and you're like, what's gonna happen? That's kind of what the album is. I find it very moving, actually. Not like every moment completely works for me. I would, without giving too much away about my me, there's only one moment to me that like isn't interesting. There are a few moments that like I'm still not completely sold on, but I find very, very fascinating. Like I'm gonna say the Beast, and initially the Beast was Chapo for me. But then my friend Zach made the brilliant observation that it actually sounds just like a lost track from Christina Aguilera's misunderstood masterpiece from 2012, Lotus, which Zach and I bond over heavily. And that unlocked so many things. I still think that there's some clunk happening in the lyrics, like the 11:59. Okay.
Tick tock, tick tock.
Like,
Because
what the?
oh,
Oh, where are you going?
my internet cut out for a moment. But I mean, isn't it like, oh, at midnight you'll turn into a werewolf? Like, isn't that the
Yeah.
point?
Oh, it's the point, but 11:59 is just a bit clunky in my like saying
I
all of
mean that
that.
okay, let's ground for a second. Let's ground for a second. That's how I feel about Department. Can
Oh.
we be validated? Please.
So, what the hell did she have to do with anything? This is
Well, I'm just
LG7
saying,
Day, and why are you knocking tortured poets while she's down?
I'm I'm not. I'm just saying, like, this is the same
But it's
moment.
not.
Girl, I
No,
have
it's not.
understood that since day one. I
All right.
said, I not been the crusader against the word centipede being used in music?
Now why you gotta bring her in it?
All right,
Well,
now we
because
all got our
Maria
two
brought
cents.
Taylor into it.
But I didn't bring no one in any of it. I
Well,
was praising your girl for my
I'm
hot
defending
track.
myself. Oh, my girl, you love her too. She's your number two.
How bad do you want me for real?
What the hell, Maria? Just sit there and eat your LG7 food.
Fuck your
Girl, I'm eating my
departments,
nachos.
fuck your 11:59s,
I
and
don't
fuck your
hate the idea
centipedes.
of an 11:59 ever in a song. I don't like it in this song because I don't like.
So to actually just announce lead single of next album is 11:59.
No, because like I don't like. That's not a word that I think never should be. Like my thing with some words, I'm not going to say which ones. I'm like, this word just is never just.
Centipede.
I'm not going there. I'm not mentioning your girl, babes. It's that we're just I don't understand why it needs to be in a song. 11:59 I understand, but I don't like it's just the beast like the melody of the verses is just like stuffed full. Like I imagine like a turkey just exploding from stuffing. That's
A
what
turducken.
that's a what?
A turducken. That's the thing. Like, that's
I
what
don't
you're
know anything
saying.
about meat. So what is that? What's a turducken?
It's a stuffed turkey.
Any stuffed turkey is a
I
turducken.
think it's like a specific thing. It's like it was a Paula Deen reference. Do you know who Paula Deen is?
Girl, of course I know who Pauly
Is
Well,
Levi
Dean
girl, you
alive?
is.
know what a turducken was. I just wanted to make sure.
I'm a vegetarian. Why the fuck would I know anything about turduckens?
God.
I don't think I could tell you if pork was a red meat or a white meat. Why would I know anything about turduckens? It's a red meat, right?
No, no.
Oh, okay. I just get this text message from my boyfriend who can hear me screaming about turduckens. Turducken is a duck stuffed inside a turkey with bacon.
Yep.
Whoa. Holy-
So, like, it's more than just any old stuffed turkey.
Well, it's like very stuffed, is what I was trying to like.
But
Your
yeah, with a
reference.
duck and
I'm literally not
again.
saying anything to any. You're like a stuffed
So
turkey, and so I said a turducken.
What? Okay. Thanks for the description of what just happened. I don't
so
understand what that means.
turducken equals the beast. Levi, continue.
I don't even know.
11:59. Girl, it's
I don't know.
11:59. You got to hurry up.
I don't know anything about anything anymore. Um. Oh yeah, the Beast is basically Christina. If you listen to it, if it's as flop era Christina Aguilera when she's fat, nasty, and broke, you will love it so much more. Do you guys know about Fat, Nasty, and Broke?
No.
No.
Do you want to know about Fat, Nasty, and Broke?
Well, yes.
No.
Uh, what the hell, Drew? Drew's mad at me for the centipede thing.
Oh my God, I'm not.
It's somebody tweeting, somebody tweeted the song Moves Like Jagger, and they quoted it with Christina was at her lowest, dot, dot, dot. Fat, nasty, and broke. Career in shambles. She came on this bitch mad as hell.
Okay, but
That's the
whoever said
genesis of
that was
that.
wrong as hell because she was everything in that.
No, Drew, they're saying that like her career was fat, nasty, and broke, and so she had to
But oh,
prove
that
everything.
transcended.
No, no, so she came on this bitch mad as hell, and that's why, because she had like something to prove.
Oh, yeah. Okay, okay. Okay, I get it.
You
I
getting
mean,
it?
I get it.
oh my
Well, now
God.
she ain't fat, nasty, or broke.
She's
I
like,
honestly wouldn't have called her fat, nasty, and broke during moves like Jagger. That was The Voice, right?
yeah,
I loved her on The Voice.
I did too. She was so mean.
So mean.
Remember how mean she was to Melanie Martinez?
Oh, she's not even looking at me.
Yeah. Oh, she's not even looking at me. Oh, and like the only thing that she'd ever say is she'd compliment the set design when she would perform.
So
And
I
then
crazy.
love
one
it.
time, I remember there's this one girl sang Jar of Hearts, and she was like, "That's a really," she's like, "I don't know that song, but it sounds like it was really difficult to sing, and so like I commend you for taking a risk
I
Damn.
love
about
it.
Jar of Hearts." So that's basically all that I have to say.
Okay.
About the whole album.
I said
I
a
mean,
lot
No,
dissertation, the
no, I know.
house.
I'm teasing, but just what a moment to end it on, you know?
on the turducken,
And we die with a smile.
and we die with a smile.
Was that like, did I create like a forever quote with that?
Yeah, I
Thank God.
think.
And we die with a smile. All right, Drew.
Okay. Um, so I was obviously very much looking forward to this, um, to see what Gaga was gonna do next. I really liked Chromatica. Um, I kind of love how you were talking about, um, like for me, Gaga kind of is one of those people, she didn't really like leave the scene per se to me. Like, I loved Levi's comparison to Reputation. I found it so accurate, but something that I love so much about Reputation is how she had that kind of disappearance to bring her back into the era.
Yeah,
And something I like about Mayhem is that she didn't really disappear. Um, but um that's kind of just what I want to say about that, I guess. Like I love how she didn't like pop out with this. Like we always knew that LG7 was coming. We always knew that she was quote working on, the best thing that she had ever made, as she was like saying a lot. How she'd never made an album like this is I think what she said all the time. Um so I was really looking forward to this. I really enjoyed the singles like so much. Abracadabra is definitely one of my all-time favorite Gaga songs. Such a like amazing return to form. Um, but yeah, I think a lot of people like I see like what Maria was saying, how like, oh, we need like the since she's done so much jazz albums and like done the acting and all of this. Um, we like really need her to return to form. I wasn't really craving that as much, I think, as other people. I'm glad we obviously got it, but I don't know. I would have been down for something like just completely like different too. I really like Mayhem, but I think like I don't know. I think I would have just been down to see her do something like not like Joanne, but similar to Joanne in a way where she completely just like does a huge major genre flip and you're like, what is going on?
Drew.
Um,
Imagine the Maria meltdown if LG7 had actually been Joanne 2.0.
well, not I didn't want
No, I
that, but
know.
that would have been
But
hysterical.
imagine if it was called like Joanna.
Yeah.
Maria,
It's
what
Yeah.
called
would you have
Germanata.
done if, yeah, it was called Germanata. What would you have done if it was her second country album?
Um, I would have needed to ground in some radical optimism. Not gonna lie. But I mean, would have been along for the ride, obviously. I mean, what am I gonna do not like it? Like I would have liked it. I don't not like Joanne. Like,
Well, yeah,
Right.
you actually do. You want to tar and feather her.
girl.
No, but like listening to like so when the album finally came around, I was um I was really invested in all of the kind of interviews that we had talked about beforehand. And I'm gonna be honest, like my very first listen to it, I did listen to it a little early.
Drew was in New Zealand. Let the record
Um,
show.
but I'm gonna be honest, like I listened to it and I am so glad that I did that because it was almost like the first listen, I got to listen to it just to change my expectations of it, to listen to it again at midnight. Because everything that I was seeing, like, it was like, this is like completely experimental. This is like, um, nothing like we've heard her sound before. And there are bits and pieces of that. But like, and even like the party reference, I'm like, so going into this, I was expecting to hear like nothing like I had, experienced before, which obviously I should have like did some putting together in my head because obviously Abracadabra is very much a return to like the like kind of early Gaga. But I was just kind of like, okay, like why did I go into this wanting it to be like very groundbreaking because it wasn't in the sense to me where it was a completely different thing that I had never experienced before. But once I had established that and went back to it to actually listen to it for like more of the content of it and not just to see what this to hear what the sound was, I actually like thoroughly enjoyed it and I thought it was really great. I just think like maybe I just need to stop listening to her, to be honest. Like I need to stop listening to what she says about her projects before I listen to them because I think it can get a little bit disappointing. Um because there's a lot of like I don't know. I don't know. I think that's all I'd want to say on that because that was the only thing that like kind of shifted my perception of it in a way. Um but after I got through that, I was like living. I really love this. I wasn't as obsessed with the lyrical content, but once you kind of realize that that's not, I didn't really think that's what she was necessarily going for or pushing for in this, kind of what Levi was saying. Like, it wasn't a very, I don't know what word you used, but it wasn't like something, she wasn't making a huge statement with this. And I love that it is kind of more of her own experience rather than like something like Born This Way that's bringing in a lot of different themes and kind of um conceptualizing all of those. So yeah, I think that was really all I wanted to say about like my initial thoughts about it, and then obviously I'll get into like my favorite tracks later. But yeah, I really, really enjoyed this. And I'm glad I was able to listen to it like the same time as Maria did. Like and actually get to enjoy it and know what I was getting into because I think the initial disappointment of like it not completely like changing my like I was expecting like some brain rewiring of my perception of what Gaga was doing with this from what I had heard. And it definitely wasn't that, but I didn't think it needed to be that, I guess. And I guess
Mhm.
that's also what I was trying to hint at like the Chromatica comparison of like we just need her to get back to form because I feel like I don't know, I just feel like we need to just like listen to Gaga's stuff without describing what it's like because she'll always kind of tell you something that's not exactly what it's going to be. And that's what we love about her, but like I think we have to just judge for ourselves.
That's so funny because like I saw a funny tweet because like tomorrow her interview or like feature on Las Culturistas is gonna come out and someone quoted the announcement and was like, "Oh my God, she's gonna lie so much. I can't wait."
Yeah. I mean,
It's so
like,
funny.
yeah, because doesn't she say in the clip that they posted, like, she's like, I completely changed how music was made or something. Like,
She said something that was like, "I created," like she was implying that like she created something that like wasn't there before. Which, like, I suppose if you think about like dark pop, like if you think about that as like a subgenre of pop music, like, would you say anyone was making dark pop, quote
but like,
unquote,
it's
before
an,
like the Fame Monster?
right. Exactly. Well, and it's like I think the visuals and the name and all of that, I think all of that caters to what this sounds like. I think all of it sounds exactly like how the visuals present it and how, like the name Mayhem. I think all of that goes into that perfectly. What I don't think it goes into is all of this crazy shit that she's saying in all these interviews that it's like what are like, oh, so we're listening. It reminds me so much of, obviously this album's way better, but it reminds me a lot of the radical optimism of it all. Like her saying like she's completely changing how she's gonna, make music. Her music's never sounded like this. And while it is completely different from, Chromatica, it's still Lady Gaga. It's not like this completely different thing. Um,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Drew.
So Maria, do you hate it?
Hmm.
Chop. Imagine.
Chapo.
Remember,
You are a
you are a
chapo.
chop ho. Okay, well, I'll get into my thoughts. But I'll just say I think this album is so accurate to her musical journey and where she's come from. Like something that she said a lot too in all these interviews is that she's like, I like her goal is always to be a student of music, is what she says. And she's like, if I'm not, if what I'm doing isn't causing me to like learn something new or like hone in a new skill, then she's like, it's not really like a worthwhile endeavor, essentially. Or if she feels too safe doing something, then it's like not really worth doing. Which I think is interesting. And I feel like this is a really cool way to hear all of her influences blend together and having it still sound completely unique. And, as we've discussed, like at the start of her career, she really paved the way for her own personal style. And, like I just said, like kind of created this allure of like dark pop. Like no one really said that before, and there's, that's kind of like a whole new subgenre. But I think it's like very correct that at this point in her career, she would make an album that like uniquely pays homage to all of the artists that have influenced her while also still sounding so much like a Lady Gaga album and still very much her own. Like I just think that's so cool and also just like so celebratory. I think the entire thing feels very celebratory, even when it does have like kind of angsty or moody or kind of like haunting kind of feelings and vibes. Notably, like, I mean, like Disease and Perfect Celebrity. And I think Blade of Grass is also a really interesting song because it's like the lyrics are really touching and like we know that it's about like Gaga and Michael and all of this stuff, but it sounds like it kind of has this haunting kind of undertone to it. Like it's not just like this completely happy, sappy ballad about how she's in love. Like I think there's also an interesting like tonal quality to it that's like a little bit unsettling. Um, so again, just like that's I think just an interesting way to mix all this music together that's like very uniquely her. And again, it's pretty self-referential without being like completely regressive of like, uh-oh, Lady Gaga is like 20 years into her career and she's trying to make like something that sounds like Telephone again or something that sounds like Bad Romance and like whatever, So I think it is still extremely like progressive. of like, yeah, like return to form as we've been saying, but it's not just like, oh, okay, this is kind of tired. Like she's just, trying to do, the old stuff again. So it's very much not that, which I think is also cool. And I just have to say, like, when I listened to this for the first time, like, I was like stun locked the whole time. And I said to Drew, because we were like live texting each other, and like, I reached the end of the album and I was like, I didn't have like a mental breakdown, or I didn't like, there wasn't really a huge, huge moment during that my first listen where I was like, oh my God, I'm freaking out. Like, I was just like, I could not believe that I was like sitting here listening to LG7, but the musical evolution that this album took had me like completely frozen. Like I just could not believe that it went to where it had gone, you know? So yeah, I was just
If I
like,
can interrupt real quick. So I
yeah.
was asleep because I was really tired. So they really weren't texting the group chat, but I will say I woke up to a text of Maria when she had finished Mayhem. She said, just finished Mayhem, sent a gif of an atomic bomb, and then said, I need a nerd tech.
The chronic pain she was feeling.
Yeah.
Girl, I need a nerd tech.
So that's where you were at.
That's me. That's also my reaction while not having a panic attack. So, yeah,
Yeah, that's your normal person
that's
measured
my normal
reaction.
reaction. It's like the Death Star exploding. I need a nerd But but yeah, I mean, I wasn't expecting myself to have such like a muted reaction on my first listen. And it took me a couple listens to be like, wait. I need to like I have to I'm actually freaking out now. Like now I'm freaking out. And I think it took me until like my second listen of Zombie Boy to be like, oh, so now I'm freaking out. Like now I'm actually losing. So yeah, like I was just like pretty stunned um into silence. Well, obviously I was silent. But like yeah, I was just like very it was a very stoic first listen to be honest, which yeah, I just wasn't expecting from myself. I also have to say, I think this is like there's several moments here of like career highlight vocals. Like I think the
Yes.
vocals across this whole thing are crazy. Really, really crazy and so, so impressive. So I just thought that was something worth noting. And this also explores like a lot of sonic feelings and experiences that I don't think she's ever really done before. All of these songs, well, I mean, there's like about like five or so, like a handful of these songs that have really, really awesome outros, like super duper cool outros. But like Don't Call Tonight is one that comes to mind because she does like that cool vocoder thing. So it has like a very Daft Punk like essence behind it, which is like you would never be like, oh, okay, well, Lady Gaga's gonna make something that sounds kind of like Daft Punk. So that's just super duper cool. And then yeah, Die with a Smile is yeah, very much like a a different flavor of Gaga doing something that's like more of a traditional ballad, which Levi alluded to. And then yeah, Killa being like very much kind of like a Bowie Prince byproduct. That song's also super cool. And then yeah, Vanish into You is like very lush. It's like almost it's like not oh it's almost a ballad. I wouldn't necessarily just be like, "Oh, it's a ballad." But it's very lush. It's a very like indulgent song. And there's also a lot of really interesting like mixing going on the whole album, production wise. I think there's so many really unique production choices, and the whole thing, like once you get to like Vanish into You, becomes really bass heavy. There's a lot of really, really highlight bass lines across the whole album. And she talked a lot about in the production of they would record like some of the guitar and bass lines and then run it through an analog synth to make the whole thing sound like very synthy. So very cool production wise. And there's also a lot of cool sound bites of her throughout the album that aren't exactly the lyrics, but it's just like a scream here and there, or like a breath, or an extra little kind of like modulation of her vocals that, feed into the bridge, like on Vanish Into You, for example. So a lot of really creative production choices happening too, which I think is really cool. Um, so yeah, I mean, I feel like that those are all my thoughts, but it's just so crazy that we're here in 2025 listening to this album. I can't even tell you how many times I've already listened to it, to be honest. And I'm really trying not to overdo it, but I'm like, I don't know what else to listen to. I don't know what else to do. So I have to figure that out because I really cannot overdo it. Um,
I don't think
but
you're gonna overdo it,
I
girl.
don't think you're gonna overdo it, Miss Maria, Miss Mayhem.
Miss Mayhem, okay. Also,
Just become your mistress of mayhem.
yeah, yeah. Also the Princess Di reference in Perfect
I
Celebrity,
screamed gag of the century.
so gaggy, insane.
And I will say, Alex is a chop ho because he didn't understand that reference.
Are you
Even though
serious?
he claims to be such a big fan
Girl, that's kind of
Of
crazy.
Lady Gaga or Princess Diana?
of Lady Gaga.
Oh, right,
Uh-oh.
right.
Does Drew
Do,
get the Princess Di
do you
reference?
understand the Princess Di reference?
Wait, I thought it was a Princess Diana reference.
So one of the best unreleased songs from the art pop era is called Princess Di. And she performed it a bunch during the Born This Way tour. And
Ball.
it's like,
Ball.
oh, okay, well, okay, Jesus, sorry. Sorry to the committee. Um, uh, and
Department.
it's a reference to Princess Di, but it's a very sad song. It's
Oh my
like
God. It's heartbreaking. It's like
it
really hard to watch her perform it.
it is. Would you say it's maybe like her darkest song?
I would say so. Yeah.
It's basically about her like death. Like she's imagining her death.
Oh.
It's
Yeah.
I'll
And
be a
the
So
song,
Princess
it's a song
Di.
about her, or is it about Princess Diana?
it's
It's
about
about
her.
her. But she's using Princess Diana as like a metaphor. She goes,
Oh,
"I'll be
okay. So I
I'll
wasn't
be
like
a
far off, but it's about a song that she has.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, yeah, like that lyric is referential to the song. She confirmed that.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
But like me thinking it was a Princess Diana reference is not like you're totally wrong.
well, no, but it is a reference to a song. That is what the reference
Okay.
is to.
But
Okay,
like the
okay.
song, the song is like, oh, like that's what, you know, like there's two things that would come to mind.
Right,
It's like,
right.
oh, Princess
Okay.
Diana. So yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's
Okay.
an
But
Easter egg.
Thank you for
yes.
educating.
Um, but yeah. So yeah, someone did ask her, like an interviewer asked her about it, and she was like, yeah, that's what it's referenced to. Um, but yeah, that was just like so crazy. Could not believe it. Um, so yeah. But yeah, I think that's all. I think that's all I have to say. But just yeah, it's so exciting. And I'll also say too, like it's so fun to like just listen to Lady Gaga like write and perform and record like fun songs again just for the sake of like them being fun songs. Like I mean Zombie Boy comes to mind because it's just like, well, that's just like a fun and flirty and just like party, let's have fun song. Because I mean we know that Chromatica has so much subtext and all of the lyrics are really heavy for the most part. Like that's what, Levi?
What?
Oh, you started looking at me scary, so I was like, oh gosh, sorry, I'm talking about Chromatica.
Oh,
No,
sorry. No,
okay.
I didn't mean to look at you scary.
Okay, no, okay, sorry, sorry. Well, what I was saying is,
Oh my
it's like the lyrics to
God. Are
Chromatica
you
are
that
like
scared of being Chromatica?
So
maybe a
what
little
Gaga
bit.
references in track 12, The Beast, is actually 11:59 is actually when Maria says the lyricism of the
Of
of
Chromatica.
Chromatica and Levi.
And I become the turducken.
Yeah, the stuffed turkey exploding.
That's
Yeah.
me.
Um,
No, you're right.
yes,
Chromatica
well,
is a lot more. There's so many things happening in Chromatica.
yeah, and it's like it's very deep, it's very heavy, and it's just like very, again, it's like celebratory to be like, oh, we're just I mean, all of this is very meaningful and intentional, but like some of these, it's like we're just having fun because we can have fun. And I feel like her music hasn't really been that way in like a long time, if that's like a fair
Yeah.
assessment.
I haven't thought about that
Oh
because
yeah,
even like
that's a
Rain
great
on
point.
Me. Even like Rain on Me, which is probably like a huge, I mean, I would say one of the more upbeat songs of Chromatica is like about like I'd rather be dry, but at least
Like
I'm
I'm going to
alive.
let all of this turmoil
Yeah.
like rain on, you know. So yeah, like
Yeah.
exactly right. I thought the exact same thing, Drew.
Well, and then I
So
wouldn't call
so yeah.
Joanne very lyrically light.
No.
Like that's also
Yeah.
not. And but then art pop, like I feel like you have a hard time, like kind of what we talked about in the art pop episode of like that album has so much pain in it as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's like there's fun songs, but then she'll drop a lyric of like, when you touch me, I die just a little inside. I wonder if this could be love. And then you're like, whoa, there's a lot there, you know?
Yeah. I mean, really, like, but now that like we're thinking about it, like she really all of her albums kind of have a heaviness, and I think that's probably because she's been struggling in some way or another with, mental health or
Mm-hmm.
substance abuse or her physical health or what have you for a really long time. I mean, this
Yeah.
seems to be like the first time in a long time that she seems to be in a bit of a stasis.
Yeah. And then it's just very celebratory, again, like as a little monster, to listen to songs like this and know how much better she is, again, like mentally, physically, all of this stuff. And it's just so meaningful to be able to hear this music from her and know how well she is, you know? So I feel like that's it's like something to note too. Because again, like to your point, Levi, it's like, yeah, I feel like we haven't had fun songs just for fun songs since like
The Fame,
since the fame.
which
Which is
honestly is I
crazy.
think the album that this album is closest to.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that this is more most closely related to the Fame.
I would say so.
And those
Um,
like first like three, four songs are like Fame Monster-esque, but I think
mhm.
like the big chunk of this album could be like, a B-side on the Fame. Easy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like Summer
And
Boy, I think is a song that could exist on this album.
yeah.
Would you say
Yeah.
that's fair, Drew, Mr. Summer Boy Stan?
Yeah. Like Summer Boy could fit like after Zombie Boy, Zombie Boy, Summer Boy.
Yeah. Or like Disco Heaven, like that set, like that part of the Fame, I think could have fit on this album.
Disco Heaven Truthers. Rise up.
Zombie Boy also feels very manicure to me.
Mmm.
That's so funny because like Zombie Boy also feels like Beautiful Dirty Rich to me. Like I don't know if you guys have heard the original Beautiful Dirty Rich demo, but it's like very Hollaback Girl.
Oh,
Oh,
really?
okay.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. Um, but yeah, I mean, like I feel like there's moments on a lot of these songs where I'm like, ooh, this is kind of giving me like a little bit of Born This Way or whatever. But again, it's not like, oh, copy paste. It's very much an evolution.
Right.
But yeah, it's just so cool. It's so cool. Okay, well, I think we should get into our me's, our least favorite songs, and our holy trinities, our top three songs. So Levi, you will go first.
Am I doing everything at once or just the me's?
Just the me.
Okay. My meme is pretty easy. It is Don't Call Tonight, and it is just the song that I think feels the least essential, and it's a little boring for me. Because I just don't think it's adding something to the conversation that isn't said elsewhere on the album in a better, more interesting way. And sonically, I don't think it advances what we're doing enough to warrant its place on the record. Like, I think that song is pretty much doing the same thing that a song like Love Drug is, and I just think Love Drug does it more interestingly. So, Don't Call It Tonight is my me. It's not bad at all. Just it is my me.
See, Drew.
My me, uh, it's gonna be the Beast.
The
Um,
turducken.
yeah, the turducken. I wasn't a huge fan of it when I first I think like kind of the things that we talked about before, like the lyrical content doesn't really excite me. The I her vocal performance I think is good in it, but I wanted it to be a little more exciting. It's a little I mean, it's definitely slower, but that's like what the song is, so like I can't be mad at that. But it's definitely for me, it's like a major skip. I don't think I'll listen to it that much.
Well, kind of like going off of that, Drew, it's a weird tempo because it's like not the up tempos that everything else before it had been, but like it's not quite like a ballad in the same way that the like next two songs are. Like
Yeah.
It's a
it
slow jam.
feels, yeah, I mean, it for sure is that. It just does feel a little like awkward of like kind of like there's nothing else really like it on the album, and it is just like it like literally is like an in-between song because it literally is in
Yeah.
between the two kinds of songs on the album. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's a good point.
I definitely feel like she kept it because she sounds so amazing on it. Like the
Yeah.
end of it, and maybe because Michael helped her write it or whatever. Like, I don't know. I think the album like could have been perfect if you took out The Beast and Don't Call Tonight.
I cannot believe that that song is not about sex. That it's about her. That is insane to me. When I listened to it the first time, I'm like, what freaky ass shit are they getting into?
I mean,
I think I texted that in the group
Maybe
chat.
she was just like being so crazy on the interview and like pulled something out of her ass, but I that's just what she said.
maybe. I mean, it is pretty like face value.
Yeah.
That's just
So,
interesting to me.
yeah.
Okay,
Well,
Miss Maria, what's
Well,
yours?
Maria,
so my me is also Don't Call Tonight. And I pretty much agree with everything that Levi said. Um, I mean, I think the bridge of it is awesome. Again, like I think the Daft Punk influence or like supposed influence on it is like really fun to hear. But yeah, it definitely felt like the least essential song on the album. And yeah, it didn't really feel like it was contributing to the like broader narrative. I mean, I think it's cool if you think about it of like another moment where she's like battling her inner saboteur of like, don't call tonight to me, my inner saboteur, whatever.
Wait, is the Mistress of Mayhem her inner saboteur?
Yes.
100%.
Oh my God.
Yes. That's like that's the point. That's like why Disease, it's like all of her variants, in the music video.
No, I'm getting that. It's just funny that she's named her inner saboteur the Mistress of Mayhem. Like, should I
Don't
go into
get it
therapy?
twisted, Levi.
Should I go into therapy tomorrow and be like, yeah, like I'm really just like I've really been listening to my inner Mistress of Mayhem this week.
Yeah.
Please. Please do that. Okay, cool. Well, Levi, do you want to get into your holy trinity?
Yeah, absolutely. So I would like to say that I had one song that was heartbreaking for me not to include in my top three. Because initially, when I listened to it the first time, it was like easy, my number one song. But my love for a few others has grown just a little bit much. And so I want to give a special shout out to Miss Perfect Celebrity. Perfect Celebrity, I love you. You're so beloved. You're such a close four. I just, it was just the three over you, but you're so beautiful and perfect. You're the perfect celebrity. You really are. So my number three is Shadow of a Man, her Michael Jackson moment. I love Shadow of a Man. And I've kind of known that I would love it since the Chromatica tour snippet. And
Oh,
hearing it in that, like hearing that in context makes it even better. I think it has one of her best choruses ever. And I think that like post chorus hook of the shadow of man is so good. It's like
Mm-hmm.
so classic Gaga, but in a way that she's never done that before. And it also is one of my favorite things that she does, where the second verse, what is she talking about? Genuinely, what the fuck is she talking about?
I
Hard to
I
be, hard
I
to
knew
be
you were
the
gonna bring this up.
yellow of a purple sky. What? It's something about you're in the eye of the storm. Like
I
it
also
make
love
Dancing in the Eye of the Storm.
I love how like because I listened to obviously the New Zealand version, and then Maria listened to it, and Levi was asleep, and we both were like, I don't think Levi's gonna like this because the lyrics are so freaking messy. And
See,
then
but what
finally, the moment of truth happened. You're like, wait, no, why do you think I wouldn't like this? And we're like, oh, because
Girl.
she says yellow, purple sky and like the weirdest shit in like
I
half of
guess
the
it's like
songs.
for this, I find it so charming because it's so full of personality and like it's like the same thing with like the House of Gucci performance that like part of what makes it so great is how good she thinks she's doing. Like when you're watching it, you can tell that she thinks she's giving the greatest performance of all time.
Right.
And like
So you're fine with the craziness in the lyrics for this
yes,
project.
it's so because my thing with like I don't really think Chromatica has crazy lyrics. I think a lot of those lyrics are just
Just don't
not
make sense.
developed and maybe not
Okay.
logical. This to me is like it's interesting to listen to and it's full of personality and it's funny. Like at the end of the day, hard to be the yellow in a purple sky, peeking through the eye of the storm, gotta be the truth or you'll become a lie, piercing like your skin from a thorn. That's comedy. That it is I have been that Trinity the Tuck meme of I don't know what the fuck she's saying, but girl,
But
I am
girl, I am
living.
living.
Because really, what is she
That's so
talking about?
funny.
I
Right.
think
Yeah.
it's so funny. So yeah, Love Shadow of Man. My number
I heard
two.
I heard you're turning green from the adrenaline and I went, "Oh no." Oh no,
I think
Levi.
mine was all of Killa. I was like, oh no, Levi's gonna
No,
hate.
I really don't have a problem with most of the. I actually think because my expectations for Gaga are like different than like my expectations for like a like
Right.
I want Gaga to be weird and I want her to be quirky and I want her to be punchy and evocative and strange. And it's when she's not doing that and trying to make sense a lot of the times that I feel like it just doesn't
That's
land.
fair. Yeah.
Hmm.
Because I still have some questions about what was said on Free Women. I think that like if I become elected president, like I'm not looking at the UFO files first. I am going to the Free Woman files and trying to figure out what in the hell she was talking about. Because I really don't get that
Yeah. And
Yeah.
to listen to the full rant, go to the Chromatica episode.
Yeah.
episode. You can see
Please.
me like lose a casket over it. So that's my number three. My number two, it's just the greatest song ever written, Abracadabra. I mean, I mean, it's Abracadabra. Like, I don't know what there is to say about it that hasn't already been said. It's genius, perfect, incredible, talented, brilliant, incredible, amazing, show-stopping, spectacular, never been done before, totally unique, completely not afraid to reference or not reference. It's amazing. So, at my number one, people really shouldn't be surprised about this. I tried to deny it for a while, and it was like, no, like this just is my number one. It's the song I like can't stop playing. It's like if like you cooked up a song in a factory for me to get me to love it, and it is How Bad Do You Want Me? Because not only is it a Taylor Swift
Me.
song, it's a great Taylor Swift song.
Yeah.
Like it's like not like a bad because sometimes when like you hear like people do like songs that are very, very heavily inspired by another artist, they're
Yes.
like bad examples of that artist. And it's like, oh, okay, like, this is like a bad whatever impression. This is like an excellent Taylor Swift song. But
Yeah.
there
Hmm.
also is still Gaga in it. The
The
Gaga
how
comes
bad do
out
you want me for real?
that yes,
Yeah.
Oh,
it's like
so
she's
good.
had like the blonde bangs on for most of the song, and then like she puts on that black wig just for that part,
Yes.
and then she takes back the glittery mic and like does like the weird pose that Taylor always does.
You know what? You know what I kept thinking about the whole time I was listening to it for the first time?
What?
I was like, I know what Taylor did. She stopped all of those TikTok leaks from all those Lover bonus tracks, and she sent it to Gaga to record. Because
Well,
there
I'm
was like
wondering.
a weird
I
phase where there was like three Lover like bonus
oh
tracks, and then she released one of
yes,
them, and then one of them went
yes.
to someone else or whatever. And I was like, Gaga got the one that no one on TikTok heard.
This song is so good. It literally sounds like it could be from Lover. Like you're exactly right. It sounds like it could be from Lover. And I just but it's great. I mean, she sounds amazing on it. Like this is one of
So
my
good.
that last chorus is one of my vocal highlights on the album for me, easily. I think the production is so good on the song. And it's also like as much as it is like this is a Taylor Swift song, it's something that Gaga's never done before, and I kind of never thought she would do synth pop like this. That was never something I thought that she would ever do. Do an epic synth pop song about yearning. It never was
But
on the
it
bingo
worked
card.
so well.
She's
Yeah.
amazing. The sound is great for her, and the lyrics are really, really good in the song. The lyrics, are, the taste spirit possessed in that front as well.
Get us a
So,
remix, please.
if please, Maria, would you support a remix?
Well, yes,
Well,
obviously.
yes. Girl, it would get Ga another one. Number one.
Well,
Another
yes.
one. That was not a good sentence. That didn't really make any sense.
Oh my
Because I also
gosh.
like said Ga, which
It would go,
Get
go
it?
another
yeah.
one.
Okay.
Okay. Um, my
True.
turn, right? Okay.
Yes.
I was having a really hard time choosing between my four and three. Um, oh, and I'm still like deciding. Okay, I'm just gonna say my four was Vanish Into You, love you, but you didn't make the top three. My number three is the smash hit, How Bad Do You Want Me?
How bad do you want me for real?
Yeah. That boy, da. How bad do you want me for real? Um, yeah. I mean, do I have to say anything else?
No.
Okay. My number two is Zombie Boy because I literally, and that was the one that when I listened to, I was like, I cannot wait to be at Scarlet with Maria to watch what she does when it's like, put your paws all over me. Like I was ready for like whatever interpretive dance you were about to do on the dance floor to that. And I don't
Yes,
remember
girl.
if you actually did anything to it when because we did go to the Scarlet Mayhem night, of course. Um, but I don't remember if you did anything. But I was like, I bet Maria will be so funny during the song because it's just like so little monster, whatever.
Well,
And then my
yes.
number one is Abracadabra. Like I literally think it's like at least top three Gaga songs of all time for me. I think it's like insane. So
Insane. Oh,
insane.
oh my
I
gosh.
I think I think this song is gonna end up having like a resurgence like in the summer or something. Like I could totally see it like getting big
Mm,
later. Just a
Abracadabra?
thought. Yeah,
Yeah.
would love.
would love.
Okay,
Would
Maria, give us the your
you
Maria
guys,
Mayhem.
you guys, the Mistress of Mayhem is taking over. This was so hard for me.
Just say it.
This was so hard for me. And okay, well, I'll just say, okay, when I'm done. But okay, I'm also gonna say my four, and it was also Perfect Celebrity. Perfect Celebrity was so close to being in my top four.
It makes me sad that it's
Top
not in my
three.
top three. But like it just I
Or yeah,
can't
sorry.
justify it. Like does it make you sad too, Maria?
It makes me so sad because I feel like it's such an incredibly earned moment of rage from Gaga that she's never really explored something that
Imagine
sounds
how,
that angry to this extent. Like in such like a classic heavy like not this isn't it's not like heavy metal like let's not be crazy, but like it's like the most like angry like rock moment I think that she's ever really explored. And I feel
yeah.
like it's so earned. So yeah, I just had a hard time not putting it in my top three, but it's not there, unfortunately.
And
It
imagine how
doesn't,
good that song's gonna be live when she does
Live,
it.
so good.
girl, global collapse when she
Yeah.
performs it live. Oh my God. Okay, so my number three is Abracadabra. I mean, there's not much else
Interesting.
to say.
We all had it in different places. Drew has it one, I have it at two, and you have it at three.
Yeah. I mean,
That's never
it's
happened before. I don't know if it has.
I don't know if it has either.
yeah, Abracadabra is just the moment. Um, Number two, Zombie Boy. I mean, I mean, it's so good. Again, and we're fine. We're having fun for the sake of fun. It's just so cool. Um, do you guys know? Do you guys have any clue what my number one's gonna be?
I think I do.
I
I think
really
I
don't
do.
know. What do you think it is?
I think is it Vanish Into You?
No.
Okay, my first thought was Garden of Eden.
Mm-mm.
Is it Disease?
Yes.
Wow!
What?
Mm-hmm. Number one is still Disease. I think Disease is like unrivaled the best song on the album.
Okay,
Oh,
Azealia
wow.
Banks.
Yeah. Like Disease is an insane, it's such a crazy song. I think it's the absolute blueprint of like Lady Gaga pop perfection, honestly. I feel like it's a really cool blend of a lot of what like makes an essential Lady Gaga song, but is still like kind of shocking. And like I don't think was what any of us expected the lead single to sound like at all. And it's just a perfect song. It's just an absolutely perfect song. I feel like it has the most texture in it, production wise. I feel like it's such a really interesting, unique sound, and I like how like industrial and metallic it sounds. Just in, like the way that it's produced, and she sounds so amazing on it, and it's the ultimate gag. I think it's the best song. Screaming for me, baby.
Ah,
Like
Imagine if you heard that though without, like, imagine if you listened to Mayhem track one Disease and you hadn't heard Disease before.
I wouldn't have made it to track two. If I didn't know what was happening, I would have died. It would have been too much to handle. But yeah. And also, let it be known that in just 2 months last year, I got Disease to my number two listened to track of the entire year on Spotify. So, Disease Warriors, rise up. But I think it's so good. It's just so good. I think it's the number one. So,
Work.
mhm. Work.
wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Are we
What's
doing
up?
scores now?
Yeah.
Yes. So let's break open the utensils for our album scores. So Drew Fork, what's your score?
I'm gonna give Miss Mayhem a 9.1. I really, really liked it. But there are just like some things obviously, like, and it's a high score, obviously, but I just think like there are just a couple things, nitpicky things that don't make it perfect for me.
Maria, I think we're all waiting with bated breath to see what you're gonna do.
Y'all, Mayhem is getting a 9.6 from me.
Wow.
Whoa.
That's
Yep.
higher than our pop.
That is higher than our pop. I mean, I don't know.
Whoa.
I don't know if there's a universe where
Whoa.
whoa, I don't know if there's a universe where I say like, oh, like Mayhem's gonna dethrone art pop, but I think
I mean, in academia, though,
what?
she did better on the test.
Sure.
She got a better score.
Sure. It took me a second.
We were both so
Academia.
confused when she said that.
I
Um,
mean,
but like, yeah, I just think for the celebratory factor and also like, being personally invested in like like Gaga being like happy and healthy and having that being so like translated into her music, like I think that's just so rewarding to like I mean obviously it's incredible and great for her, but I think it's really rewarding as a fan to see her so happy and not in such like turmoil and like chaos to the point where it's like actually detrimental for her health in spite of the music being really great still, you know? So I think that's just like something that's like really sticking with me as a huge fan of her. So yeah. Well, Levi Knife, what's your score?
Yeah, I'm gonna be going at even 9.0. I'm kind of basing this off of my art pop rating was 9.3, and I would still rank art pop above this, as I would rank Born This Way and The Fame Monster right now. And I think nine to me captures like the quality of this album and how great it is. But I also think there's room to grow. I could see this like becoming higher. just based on like replay value, because I think that that is a to me a big consideration when I think about the score that I'm going to give an album, like how many times I would go back to it. And like right now, I'm loving listening to it. So I think I'm just interested to see how it will grow with me. And, I could totally see it going higher, but I think 9.0 is like a great place to start.
Totally.
So we have a average score of 9.23. Pretty high.
Mm-hmm.
Higher than the art pop average score,
Whoa.
which was an
Whoa.
8.9, and it's higher than the Chromatica score, which was an 8.26. By far the highest Gaga score so far.
Dang. And we
Whoa.
haven't even gotten to
Fame
the
Monster.
Fame or the Fame Monster or Born This Way
Or Joanne,
or Joanne
We won't get there.
or Cheek to Cheek.
or Love for Sale.
But we did get to Harlequin.
Oh, that's right. And it has a higher average score than Harlequin, which is
Wait, really?
7.6. Drew Tank.
Drew Tank. Hold my
Yeah.
hand, Tank.
T.
So,
Well,
Maria,
Slay.
we mayhemmed.
We just mayhemmed. Can you believe?
I can. I feel
We
mayhemmed out.
mayhemmed and we avatared because this episode might be our second longest one.
Oh,
Oh my
really?
God. Well,
Yeah, I
yeah.
think it's longer than Tortured Poets now.
I mean, we did talk about shallow bucks
We,
for quite a while.
the Turduckins, really set it over.
Okay. Well, okay, then we won't keep you. Just next week, tune in Pop Girlies Nation for a completely different vibe. We are going back to the 70s, and I'm going to be sharing one of my favorite albums of all time, an album that's considered one of the best albums of all time. That is Joni Mitchell's classic album, Blue. So,
Yes.
yeah, super excited to be talking about like
Yes.
a true classic album. So, yeah, please come back. Please come back.
We also have a lot of Gaga content, so if you're here from being a little monster,
Yeah,
Ignore the
obviously.
Madonna episodes if you're a little monster.
you
Um,
know who.
you know who.
You know who. I also have to say, just in case you are listening on our YouTube channel and have made it this far, please comment. We're starting to get views on our YouTube videos, and I want so badly to know what people think when you just find our videos on YouTube. So please, 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 I'm like begging to hear something. So I would love a comment or two.
All right,
Okay, I'm gonna go cure my disease.
Shanti.
I'm gonna go sh dance in the shadow of a man.
I'm gonna go. Don't call tonight.
Oh, okay.
You're gonna vote that. Okay.
All right.
All right, Shanti.
Mayhem.